2025 be approved. Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion.
Thank you. Questions and answers to questions? Motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice. Motions relating to the sitting of the House. Motions for leave to introduce bills. Presentation of bills without leave of the House first obtained. Public business. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, on the 14th day of October, I gave notice in this honorable House of private members. Thank you very much. Thank you. Madam Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
House, the question is we suspend the standing orders to take the motion. Those in favor? Those against, the ayes have it.
Madam Speaker, I now move that the motion, notice of which I gave earlier, be approved.
The question is that the motion notice of which was given earlier be approved. Those in favor? Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. Minister Williams, Finance Minister.
Madam Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister.
Madam Speaker, the Jamaica Bauxite Institute, JBI, was established by the government of Jamaica in 1975 as a regulatory planning and development agency to manage the sovereign aspects of the government's participation in the bauxite alumina industry. The Bauxite Company Development Program was established in October 1996 with a mandate to promote long-term sustainable developments in communities affected by bauxite mining and alumina operations. Under the program, funding is provided for projects to generate the employment and improve the social and physical infrastructure of communities. The program is administered by the JBI under the guidance of a steering committee comprising representatives of the JBI and the portfolio ministry, with each phase having a duration of between 2 and 3 years. Section 12 of the Bauxite Production Levy Act provides for the establishment of the Capital Development Fund and sets out the mechanisms by which withdrawals are made. In keeping with the provisions of the Act, a withdrawal order and resolution was drafted by the Office of Parliamentary Counsel to facilitate the withdrawal of $400 million from the Capital Development Fund for the purposes of implementing Phase 8 of the Bauxite Community Development Program. The Capital Development Fund currently has sufficient resources to facilitate the withdrawal of $400 million during the 2025-26 financial year. At July 31, 2025, The JBI reported a total of $13.1 million being held for the Bauxite Community Development Program following implementation of Phase 7 of the program. The Bauxite Community Development Program undertook 23 projects in Manchester, St. Anne, St. Elizabeth, St. Catherine, Clarendon, and generally across all bauxite parishes at a total cost of $110.4 million during the 2024-25 financial year. Additionally, 5 projects were undertaken at a cost of $28.93 million to date during the 2025-26 financial year. The requested support of $400 million from the Capital Development Fund is therefore necessary to allow the JBI to finance the implementation of Phase 8 of the Bauxite Community Development Program. These activities are geared towards strengthening livelihoods, enhancing community infrastructure, and supporting socioeconomic development across the bauxite parish. Madam Speaker, it is proposed that a withdrawal of $400 million be made from the Capital Development Fund in line with the Bauxite Production Levy Act and Cabinet's Decision 23/25 dated June 16, 2025, granting approval for withdrawal and implementation of Phase 8 of the Bauxite Community Development Program during the 2025 to 2028 period. Madam Speaker, I now move that the motion, notice of which I gave earlier, be approved.
Thanks, Minister. Those in favor? Those. Oh, no.
Thank you. Wait to be recognized. I'm waiting to be recognized.
Member Warmington.
I'm waiting to be recognized by the Speaker. Now shut him up.
The member from South Manchester on the motion.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I couldn't allow this motion to be passed without speaking on behalf of the constituency that I represent, South Manchester. But Central is in a similar situation, so I can speak to both. He's here to speak for himself. Madam Speaker, this resolution speaks to extracting a sum of $400 million from the Capital Development Fund for use in the implementation of Phase 8 of the Bauxite Community Development Program over years 2025, 26, 27, and 28. That's $100 million per year for all the constituencies that are.
Slice in style with this stainless steel double-sided cutting board.
Shut your mouth and listen up. Madam Speaker, that $100 million a year is really an embarrassment. If that entire amount was used in South Manchester, it wouldn't begin to dent the work that needs to be done in that constituency. It's quite frankly inconsequential relative to the needs of these constituencies. And if I speak specifically to South Manchester, Madam Speaker, if you were to visit many communities that have suffered, that have endured bauxite mining for decades, Broadleaf, Harmons, Prattville, Asia, Perrins, Lancaster, some of these areas have been mined out and there are still pits unreclaimed decades after they have been mined. When you go in some of these communities, you could only describe the landscape as post-apocalyptic. And this is not because of the recent hurricane. This has been in that condition for decades. Right now, there are schools which are struggling to reopen in South Manchester. Still don't have power. Prattville Primary, Winston Jones. The billions that have been extracted from the immediate environs of these schools. In fact, to get to Winston Jones is marooned. It's like an island and mined out all around the school. And yet they don't have a generator or a solar system that they can continue operating. The school has an agricultural department. They have hundreds of pounds of chickens that they've produced, which are at risk of spoiling because they have no electricity. And yet, billions have been extracted. Billions of dollars have been extracted and continue to be extracted from these areas. Billions in the US. The member from Western St. Andrew is correcting me. In law, the mined out pits are supposed to be reclaimed within a fixed period of time. What the companies appear to be doing is mining out about 95% or 97% of the bauxite. And they leave a little corner of the mined out pit. And they call it an open pit. They haven't finished it because there's a few truckloads left to be removed. And that seems to relieve them of the responsibility indefinitely, because some of those have been in that state now since 2010 and earlier. The JBI, which is being given this money to implement the program, behaves often as if they are an advocate for the industry, not an advocate for the communities that are impacted by bauxite mining. The mining, the Commissioner of Mines and the Department of Mines, which also has a role in terms of enforcing the appropriate regulations, they also seem to have been neutered. The benefits that the country gets from bauxite aluminum mining today is a trickle compared with what it was in its heyday. And I have made a recommendation in this House many times before, and this is not a partisan recommendation. This is coming from my perhaps unique experience of representing 3 different constituencies that are heavily impacted by bauxite alumina operations. Originally Southeast Clarendon, where the Jamalco plant is, then Central Manchester, where the Kirkvine plant is, and mining took place, and now South Manchester, which is literally honeycomb with bauxite alumina mining. bauxite mining going to the alumina plant. This is an industry where we have not matched the expenses to mitigate the environmental damage with the revenues that the companies are earning. I have made a recommendation, Minister, before you had that responsibility, and I will repeat it now, that each ton of bauxite taken out, each ton of bauxite extracted, an amount of money should be put in escrow so that whatever happens down the road, there is money available for reclamation, for other environmental mitigation. I've had responses that it sounds like a good idea. But I made that recommendation, I think, the first time in 2008. And we still haven't had any action in that regard. What we have today is an industry where there's not a lot of reinvestment taking place. In fact, there is huge exposure. There's huge exposure to communities in St. Ann, where lands have been taken, but persons have not been paid. Contractors are used for mining. Contractors are used for haulage. Contractors are used for loading at the plant. Labor contractors are used to provide casual labor. All of these payables amount to hundreds of millions of dollars. I discovered via questions in the Senate that Petrojam at one time was owed $8 million by one company. And there may be reasons why some people prefer not to hear what I'm saying. Because we know there are a lot of vested interests around. You know, so when you throw stone in hog pen, the one that falls. So, Madam Speaker, I would say even in this time of the more transient crisis that has been brought on by Hurricane Melissa, even getting a response from the companies that are operating to assist the communities in this regard is very difficult. We had an allocation for trucking water. And I know that conventionally or usually the companies truck water in the communities where mining is taking place. I tried to reach out to the company to say, but at least tell me what areas you are going to be covering so that we don't duplicate the trucking of the water and the little allocation can go as far as possible. Not even the courtesy of a response from the companies as the elected representative of the people. So, Madam Speaker, I believe we have to, this industry is in its twilight. And in a sense, they say it's you know, the last kick of a dying mule is what you must be careful of. We need to be double our vigilance in terms of monitoring the environmental risks and the impact that these operations are having on our communities. It's not coincidental that so when we look at the poverty surveys, these communities rank among the most or amongst the poorest of our communities. they should have been reflecting the benefits of the value that has been extracted out of this. And I say 400 million, 100 million Jamaican per year scattered across a number of affected constituencies. This is really an insult to the people, and I cannot support that.
The member from Manchester Northwest.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, through you, I'd like to ask the Minister of Finance a few questions pertaining to the order that she has brought to the House. Can the Minister say why it has taken 5 years for another constituency development project? This is phase 8. Phase 7 was in 2020. And just by the minister's admittance that this program is supposed to be every 3 to 4 years, why has it taken 5 years for constituencies that have been affected by bauxite to be seeing any resources, any at all? Secondly, can the minister say if there will be an increase over the measly sum of $4 million that has been given to constituencies like Northwest Manchester every 3 to 4 years for projects financed through this program? Can the minister also say which are the projects, that $1 billion that she mentioned in the last financial year? Where were these projects? Which communities, which constituencies were they done in? And how much was spent on each of these projects? Because I know constituencies like mine in Northwest Manchester saw no additional projects outside of the $4 million that was attributed to Northwest Manchester in 2020. And a member from South Manchester is saying that he saw none in southern Manchester also. And last question, will we be seeing the regular allotment to these constituencies and not when it is that the administration see fit that constituencies that have been affected by bauxite will see a regular flow of funds coming from the CDF?
Yes, that's true.
Next is the member from St. Catherine.
Madam Speaker, I have no problem with the position taken by the member from South Manchester as it relates to reclamation by the bauxite companies. But I have a problem with the part of his presentation as it relates to the amount being allocated to those constituencies that have to do with bauxite. He spoke about 100 million per year over 3 years. But the issue is that the amount that's allocated to those constituencies is that you get 100 million divided per year. Is that the amount you get a chance to deal with that over 3 years, the procurement and the implementation of projects. Is also said that is an embarrassment and insult of 100 million per year. I must know what we're talking about. I am saying, just hear me first, man. Hear me first. Rest, man, just behave. I am saying.
And I'm not joking this in a woman.
I didn't call a name. You can't call my name. It was a consequence. It was a Rastaman. But when it started, it was under Dr. Paul Robertson. And those constituencies that the mined bauxite from got 2 million per year. Southwest St. Catherine got $1 million. over the period, during the period when they got 2 million. It was former member Ali Shaw that increased the amount from 2 to 4. And the amount for council like mine from 1 to 2.
We're not talking about no relevant now.
But remember,
We're
we sat in
talking about the
cabinet over these
hurricane and
years.
relief now.
He didn't advocate then for serious increase then. But now you find it convenient to ask it now. It's hypocritical. He made some good points in the presentation. But when you talk about the amount,
Then a different time now. A different
you
time
just
now.
come back, that's why you don't understand. It's not a statement minister, no. It's not a statement minister. It's not a statement, you just come back, learn a little bit. Some say, Madam Speaker, it's hypocritical for the member to criticize the amount.
Tap up the screen, man.
When he
Double
left
tap up
here,
the something now.
was
Watching
2 million.
this video. Tap up it, tap it up. Thumbs it up.
Come back, and comes back, and it's now 4 million. And they've objected on the Paul Robertson on
A
his
long time
cabinet.
story that, no matter with the foolishness. Time evolve.
But you know me tell the truth, Michael. You know me tell the truth. So I don't disagree with them now. It could have been increased or can be increased, but never criticize it under his government. So don't criticize now.
The member from Southeast St. Anne.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Bauxite Mining Community Development Program. If you ask the people of Southeast St. Anne, that's a contradiction in terms. Because the constituency, as you've heard from the other members, not only the exploitative nature of mining, but the relationship between the companies and the citizens. There are places where, I tell you, as we speak, the noise, the dust, the roads that are unsafe for the people of the communities to use. And so when we talk about a community development program, it needs to be one that speaks to actually helping the people to be better as a result of mining. And that used to be the case because some of the communities in my constituency that were built in the 1970s, the Golden Groves, those communities were built on bauxite. What we're seeing now is that a lot of the communities, once the mining starts, in the vicinity even of the communities,